First, we will go to the underside and unplug the door servo. Once the servo is unplugged, we can go back topside and start to take apart the plastic stack. Using a number 2 Phillips, we can undo the front 2 screws that go into the door and the 2 screws that help retain the switch mount plastic for the spinning toy itself. With these off, we will want to lay the plastic with the switch back and out of the way, and we will want to make sure with the front plastic we keep the spacers with the screws and the plastic. With these plastics off, we will now be able to access the servo mount for the sliding door. There will be 4 wood screws to undo on the servo itself. Using the number 2 Phillips, we can take them out. With them out, we can now remove the servo from the door and take it to a bench to swap the gear to a new servo. To get the gear off, we will want to take the set screw out first. With the screw out, it still may be stuck a bit as we use some Loctite to keep the gear from ever working itself loose, so we may need to use a larger flathead screwdriver to pry the gear mount off the servo. Once we get them separated, we will take the gear and place it onto the new servo. Once this has been done, we will reinstall the set screw. We recommend a drop of Loctite goes back on as well. Once the gear has been reattached, we can go over to the machine, and with it booted, we will want to home the servo by going into the menu and selecting the door opened or closed option. Once we select an option, we will want to make sure we match the door to the same position, otherwise we will have some issues setting up the servo after install. Here we chose the door closed, so we will slide the door to where it is almost touching against the ball guide, and then slide the servo back onto position. Here we will then install the 4 screws that keep the servo mounted onto the servo holder. When you do this, make sure the servo's wire is fished down through the hole as well. Once the servo has been snugged back up, we can then go about getting the switch plastic back on. We will once again want to make sure we are reusing the 2 pre-existing holes in the 3D support pieces. With the switch plastic installed, we can then go to the front of the door and install the last plastic stack. Making sure we use the pre-existing holes once again, and using the spacers provided, we can screw the screws back in. Make sure not to over tighten the screws, as the mounting holes can be easily stripped out. We should now be able to go to the underside and plug the servo back in, and then enter the servo menu to fully test the door. We will want to make sure that the door does not open too far or close too far, as it can shear the door itself. We may need to move just a few points either way depending on how the door and gear went together after homing the servo. Once this is set so the door is not catching on either side, we should be able to get back to playing the game with a fresh new servo.